Evil and Human Nature. Chapter 1. The Bible says not one of us is righteous, psychology says we're noble self-actualized beings. Psychology and Evil 1. No one, not one is righteous. Romans 3:9-20, Psalm 53:1-6. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." John 8:7. How good are we as the human race as a whole and as individuals? We're all so delusional as individuals that virtually all of us think we're decent people even when we're evil scumbags. It's always the other guy who's the asshole. We got decent people out there working as cops, doctors, teachers, grocers, etc. What happens when you get into a bind like you need money? People can justify anything when it comes to feeding your family. How many people are in jail not because they're evil criminals but because of a minute of anger? I'm still stuck on abortion because I just saw a Democratic senator, a fat guy to boot, give his little speech on the news protecting women's rights, but they cannot say out loud that we're protecting our right to kill babies. I understand that everyone is capable of evil even though almost all of us think we're good. Beyond that, the collective delusions are monumental. We fool ourselves into thinking we're good. We worship material excess. I got no problem with the tycoon who goes to work every day because he likes developing stuff. My beef is with the people living in houses that are 5 times bigger than they need. It goes on and on. There is no solution to the goodness of humans versus the evil of humanity. It's always in the middle. Anybody can go either way. We don't know what anybody is thinking. We don't know how evil somebody is who acts like the nicest person ever, like that documentary I saw about Tony Blair, the UK politician. He looks like a nice guy. According to the documentary, made by his own former party members, he was a smart psychopath smiling in public while getting his henchmen to destroy his enemies. Over a lifetime, my trust in people has gone from naive idealism to superficial politeness. I checked out communities when I was younger for communal living. They never work. People want their own private space, plus they get jealous not just over material things. There are always love triangles. I was so naive that I actually traveled around the world looking for a utopia-like place where everybody was happy like in the movies. What I found was people working hard everywhere for money. That's it. I've been to Mazatlan, Puerto Vallarta, and many other tropical places. They're either struggling for money or they want more. My issue is if I become totally cynical right now, then I lose my connection with the human race. John the Baptist in the Bible went to live as a hermit in the desert. We still want some sense of community with our fellow human beings. That's the issue. When do we get like Scrooge and turn our backs on humanity? How much do I get out of being a good guy when people use my goodness for their own selfish ends? Psychology and Evil 2. I read an article about misanthropy, hate of the human race. The guy said, "I know how disgusting I am. I think I'm a pretty good guy. That means a lot of human race is pretty evil and disgusting." Zecharia Sitchin wrote the book The 12th Planet in 1976, where he claimed to have deciphered some of the many cuneiform tablets the British found in the Middle East between 1850 to 1890. He claimed that a race of space beings called the Anunnaki from the planet Nibiru genetically created the human race because they needed workers to mine gold to take back to their planet to spray into their atmosphere to protect it from radiation. Is this true? I don't know. The story of the creation of Eve in the book of Genesis sounds like this earlier story of genetic engineering. Somebody said the word Adam is derived from the word worker. It's possible that we were created as a worker race then abandoned because we got too unruly. As a Catholic kid, I constantly read the Old Testament in grade school. Later on, before the internet, there were mail-order book clubs. I bought a world anthology of history which was about 1,400 pages long, 3 columns per page documenting many of the events in human history. Most of these events were people doing evil things to each other. I've looked at writers writing about their fellow man since the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is at least 4,000 years old. I read the Bible, Ovid's book The Art of Love, then through the internet I watched movies from the 1930s, 40s and 50s. It's the same thing repeated over and over again. Man's inhumanity to man. The 1930s to the 1950s was the golden age of movie making. They had to come up with new ideas all the time. They kept coming up with new stories of people in conflict with each other. I just watched Of Human Bondage with Bette Davis, about a selfish woman who uses men. Some people are not capable of love, but they're capable of charm. People use people all the time. How many relationships or marriages are people using each other, not loving each other? Most of us master the ability to look nice, pro-social, and non-threatening, but evil lurks inside of us all. I think I'm a decent guy. People disrespect me and do bad things to me. It's hard to control anger. A lot of murderers are not typically evil people. They were normal people in a situation where somebody went too far in bullying them, so they reacted out of anger. It's who we are. I concluded if I don't get too involved with people, I can't get into a fight or a disagreement. I was a naive young man with a positive view of humanity, but I've seen so much lying, cheating, stealing, abuse, exploitation, hate, anger, jealousy and violence that I feel best when I don't go beyond superficial relationships with people because I want to avoid conflicts. Many people are trifling, trivial creatures of ego. They seek to hurt other people because they might think they're superior, they're frustrated at life in general, or have such beaten down egos that they try to bring themselves up by putting other people down. The paradox is that almost everyone thinks they're a decent person and the rest of the world is messed up, so you got a bunch of assholes all thinking they're the morally righteous superior person in any situation. I watched some interviews with lifer criminals. Many of them rationalized what they did. Some said it was cops and robbers. It was nothing personal. They didn't realize the damage they did to people. Like, if you rob a bank, you're not just stealing money, you're terrorizing the people there. I watched Sammy the Bull Gravano's YouTube channel, which is a nostalgic look at his life in the mafia, but got tired of it after I realized he could never admit to being a low-life evil scumbag. He saw himself as an ethical criminal, the guy who admitted to killing 19 people. That's the way we think. We're always the good guys. Everyone else are the scum. It's a big shortcoming of being human. We can't admit to ourselves how nasty we are. Jealousy is huge. Women are jealous of each other. Many women want to be the prettiest in the room. Watch those Real Housewives shows on Bravo TV. They get older narcissistic women together to pretend to be friends. They pay them and they get on TV. Some of them use the publicity to sell stuff. The real purpose of the show is to watch the gossip and the backstabbing. I believe society helps us become jealous with all the commercials on TV touting a lavish lifestyle. Social media has brought this image of living large to a new level. The true crime show Snapped is just one true crime show out of many. There are 29 seasons in existence, each season with about 25 episodes. These are mostly about people who have killed people close to them, as in a husband and wife or other family members. Psychology and Evil 3. The human race is more evil than anyone wants to admit. The field of psychology barely covers it. They have the subfield of forensic psychology, but that's it. When I studied psychology, it was about the glorious view of man, as with Abraham Maslow's idea of self-actualization. Back then, I was working in bars. I saw the decadence and violence every weekend downtown. I worked at a strip joint, so I often had to go and ask guys to stop standing in the walkway where people walked back and forth. Many guys refused to move, then I would have to get my buddy bouncers to walk over and tell the guy to move for the smooth operation of the bar. It was ridiculous stuff, little boys with their little egos. It's never going to end until we genetically re-engineer all of us. I started listening to Chuck Harder on the For the People radio network around 1987, before the internet ever existed. Chuck talked about the corruption everywhere all the time. Even if I don't believe half of what he said, half of it made sense. That's how I broke from society. I realized every institution is corrupt. There are always a few egomaniacs at the top of every organization controlling everything for their own selfish ends. I transitioned from being a naive kid who thought I was living in a good society where most people were community-oriented and decent to realizing everybody is a prisoner to money, everybody guards their own self-interest. Almost everybody will sacrifice their morality and decency to protect their own interests if need be. I worked for some NGOs and government education departments and realized a lot of these people here are just lazy bums who couldn't make it in the capitalist world, so they came over here pretending to be decent people to get a job to scam what they could, including slacking off, which is big time in government jobs, stealing time, not doing useful work. Now as an older man, it's not just the violent crime that gets me. It's the general corruption everywhere. There are left-wing and right-wing radio, TV, and internet shows. They're constantly hating on each with lies. The guy on the YouTube Young Turks channel, I believe they call him Senk or something like that, said he kind of liked the Ottawa trucker protests, but his channel and ideology said you're not allowed to like them. They're a bunch of right-wing rednecks. I heard the Choice people, they don't call themselves pro-choice anymore, do a show on Democracy Now! Radio acting like they were upholding some great social justice ideal for women's rights. I never heard them once during that show state the fact that we are fighting for abortion, the right to kill our unborn babies, not because they pose a threat to our lives but because if we're not wise enough to use birth control, then we should be able to kill our babies if we get pregnant. They use the term choice as though they're fighting for a great human right, the right to kill their babies. Where are the rights of these unborn babies for all these left-wing liberals supposedly fighting for social justice? I've seen photographs of aborted babies on a table. Somebody said they sell these fetuses to drug companies to use in creating vaccinations. This the human race? There are extraterrestrials watching us. It was proven in the 1976 Travis Walton UFO encounter with ETs who were trying to help him after he fell unconscious. Have they seen us kill our own babies? What species in the universe kill their own babies? On the Jeff Rense radio, he said somewhere there is some bill or law that gives new mothers the right to kill a baby within 28 days after birth. No matter how much bullshit you shroud it in, we are killing our own babies, which is murder. It defines the human race. It's like the video I saw of hatchling crocodiles eating their siblings. That's where the human race is at a moral level. After Cain killed Abel, somebody said thou shalt not kill. There are absolute moral standards. Once the human race crosses them, we define ourselves. We are what we are. Everybody is a liar for their own interests. People started local chapters of the Black Lives Matter organization to supposedly help get racial justice for African Americans. Many are getting arrested for stealing the funds that they raised, which were supposed to go to help their fellow Negro brothers and sisters, but they kept that money for themselves. Every human is a hypocrite for their beliefs, even if they're morally wrong. To me, everything is corrupt, but I'm cool about it. I don't dwell on it. I'm pleasant to the people I interact with, but I double-check all my paperwork and stuff like that. My trust for the human race is minimal. Genetically speaking, we are what we are. We cannot change our fundamental nature with religion, psychology, free schooling, massive indoctrination in the media, dictatorship, or even drugs. The only way we can progress as a species is to genetically re-engineer ourselves with anger, jealousy, and violence taken out of us. Some people would say we can't mess with the fundamental genome. It would change us. If we had anger taken out of us, it might make us wimps without the drive to fight for self-preservation. We have the Borg from science fiction, the communal collective mind. Everybody has the same motive for the good of the hive. We have to figure out how to get beyond being so selfish. All through history, people have been taking stuff from others and hoarding it for themselves. How can we get over this idea of being so greedy? We know some animals hoard like squirrels. It's part of our nature. Until we destroy this part of ourselves, The human race is doomed as it is now. Very few people live happy lives. Everybody is so desperate for money. It's not just the poor people who need to pay rent. The advertising machine targets everybody. You never have enough. When I was in graduate school, I was getting credit card offers and offers in the mail to buy a new car, no money down. I have known people with professional jobs in deep debt. It's a constant upgrade. I was watching some TV show and the woman was discussing what type of marble to get for the splashback for her sink. I'm thinking, who gives a crap? I'm thankful I have a sink. Then we get to the art aficionados. Visual art is junk. There is nothing mysterious, cool, or aesthetic about it. Somebody paints a silly painting. So what? I did that in grade primary. People are starving all over the world according to UNICEF, while some people over here are so bored with life they're buying paintings, acting like it's a refined pursuit for sophisticated people. The pretense is incredible. The love of money is the root of all evil. 1 Timothy 6:10. Psychology and Evil 4. I've loved animals all my life. They have all returned the love and never betrayed me. Why can't people be more like them? The big YouTube animal channel is the dodo. They have hundreds of heartwarming true animal videos. Some TV channel, it might have been Animal Planet or National Geographic, did a 1-hour show about the guy in Central America who rescued a baby crocodile who had been shot by an arrow. He nursed it back to the health, then released it 10 miles from where he lived. The crocodile came back. There are scenes of him in the water play fighting with this adult crocodile. He used to put on shows. The crocodile died of natural causes. This is supposedly a reptile that operates on the lower brainstem and has no capacity for love. I found these videos on YouTube. Meet Wally, my emotional support gator beast buddies. Farmer rescues injured crocodile. 20 years later this happened. The man who swims with crocodiles. We can make bonds with animals that are much more loving and loyal than we make with humans. The human race will never be a loving race towards each other. It never has been in the past, nor is there any place on earth where people don't bash each other's heads in. We have to fundamentally change our genetic code if we want a better human society. The human race tends more towards evil than good. Psychology tries to put everyone into some category. They say only about 3% of people are psychopaths. We're all psychopaths. All human beings have the range of full evil within themselves. Every human is good and evil in one. The Bible, a common-sense book about life written 2,500 to 2,000 years ago, is a cautionary tale about how evil the human race is. The modern science of psychology does not want to adequately address how evil we actually are. The book of Proverbs is a lesson in trying to control anger. Dante covered the 7 deadly sins in the Inferno in the Divine Comedy in 1371. The 1936 movie Green Pastures with an all-black cast is a look at the good and evil within the human race. I was brought up as a Catholic Christian going to Catholic school. I had religion class almost every morning until I was about 14 years old. When you study the Old Testament of the Bible, you get many stories about how disgusting and evil human beings are. Most people think they're good, cool people, but we can all get angry on a dime. We've all done evil, disgusting, shameful things in our lives, even the good ones among us. On balance, people are more selfish to evil than good. If we weren't, we wouldn't have fat rich people in big houses with homeless people over there dying of starvation. As far as the nobility thing goes, I see a lot of overweight slobs, gamblers, video gamers, alcoholics, and drug addicts who want to try to escape from their mundane jobs as much as they can. The 10 Commandments say don't lie, steal, cheat, kill, or sleep with a married person. Dante Alighieri said we're proud, greedy, lustful, gluttonous, lazy, angry, and vengeful. The Old Testament is a blueprint for what's going on today. Psychology and Evil 5. Politics always degenerates to power and corruption. Good people get into politics, but almost all of them are corrupted within a few years. The general ideology is that the system is screwed no matter what you do. It runs on Machiavellian principles. Evil runs the world. That's the way it is. There is nothing anyone can do about it. The Bible says the world is ruled by a supernatural evil empire in Ephesians 6:12. The big boys in charge before you ever got there in any system anywhere offer you money and favors to go along with them. If you don't, they either destroy your reputation or kill you, i.e., Confessions of an Economic Hitman. In the parlance, they said take your pick, gold or lead, money or a bullet. In the lingo, they compromise people. Jeffrey Epstein had a Bahamas island supposedly wired up to secretly videotape rich and powerful people having sex with underage women to compromise them if need be. This was supposedly financed by the spy agency of a certain country. Young people are coming up all the time with ambition for whatever reason. Some are naive enough to think I'm a good person, I want to help the world. There are vetting processes everywhere. In college, if a connected professor sees someone with capable qualities who shares his view, he might offer him an internship to a company or organization made up insiders who share a common view of life, which I would describe as selfish elitism. People in the top companies and organizations that run the world look for ambitious young people who understand that the world works through protecting your interests at any cost. They find those people, offer them scholarships and internships to further weed them out and indoctrinate them. We have organizations like the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, often called think tanks, and big financial companies like Goldman Sachs, the Federal Reserve Bank, etc. These international organizations run the world. They look for people who share their views, then groom them. That's how it works. If you come on the scene acting some bleeding heart liberal, they smile at you and say you're a good person, but behind the scenes your career as a future leader is over. They say presidents are selected, not elected. The grooming process starts early. People already there need to be sure that you're a yes man who will do what you're told. If you think for yourself, you're gone. If you can give good speeches and act like a good old boy for the people when you're really a Machiavellian, you're in. I watched a number of political documentaries. I saw the one for Anthony Weiner, one for George W. Bush, and one for Tony Blair. The one for Tony Blair showed this guy with a friendly public face who was a greedy psychopath behind the scenes. Granted, the filmmaker was biased, but much of it was true. The game is to get what you can for yourself. The world is too screwed for anyone to actually help the human race in any significant way. People in charge are too selfish to let that happen. They always get a cut for themselves before helping the unwashed masses. I liken it to the mafia in New York City in the 1980s. They controlled everything. They got their cut everywhere before the FBI swooped in with the RICO Act. The mafia is an example of greed unfettered. It won't stop until a bigger force conquers it. There are unproven conspiracies that we have the technology for free energy and anti-gravity, but the people in charge don't let them out because they would lose their base of money and control over the people if there was wireless electricity and easy-to-use flying machines. In the Bible, human beings always screwed it up. It wasn't just Sodom and Gomorrah, Noah's flood, and the Tower of Babel. In many Bible stories, people degenerate to evil. Psychology embraces the humanist Abraham Maslow theory of the noble man striving for self-actualization. Are most people generic gluttons and mooks? They make some money, then go over to the fun, easy side of comfort, hedonism, and entertainment. Getting high on something is off the charts. My proof of human evil is in the fact of all the poverty, unemployment, homelessness, and misery out there. All those phony liberals in our phony democracies haven't solved these basic human problems yet. Personally, I'm against the idea of politicians as representatives because they don't represent the people. It's a fraud to have phony selfish representatives claiming to represent the people. I want to go straight to an online voting agency where the people create the issues that are important to them and vote on them. If the people were to vote directly, they would not vote for all the money that's spent on the military. I don't believe anyone should get a free ride. In the book of Thessalonians they say if you don't work, you don't eat. I believe in creating a sustainable economy with enough jobs for everybody, but then stop the development and keep it nice where it is. We can't enjoy a good thing. Somebody is always scheming to make more money. Canada was nice when there were 20 million people here. Now it's 40 million. Some politicians in the Liberal Party say they want 100 million people because they want Canada to be a superpower. Constant economic expansion is destroying everything. Psychology and Evil 6. The purpose of all gossip, talking about others behind their backs, is to put someone down to build your ego up for the moment. There is a silent one-upmanship game in every group of people anytime, anywhere except maybe for true Christians, this silent ego thing of I'm better than him or her. My evidence is in the Real Housewives and other reality shows. There is conflict with any small group of people that get together. Dante called it the first deadly sin, pride. I watched many of the MTV Real World shows to see the conflicts develop, the petty bickering of I'm better than you, he disrespected me, which is basically saying I'm better than you. In WWE wrestling, back in the day, the host would ask Razor Ramon how he was doing. Razor Ramon always said, better than you, Chico. It was meant to be part of the arrogance of his character. I'm better than you. I saw some psychobabble social psychology video on YouTube. The guy was at the local horse race track analyzing the people there by where they stood, what they wore, etc. To him, it's all a big public show of social standing. I'm better than you. The TV news, the shows, and documentaries are focused on hate and evil. The sitcoms are about putting someone down. Society's latest new bad guy is the middle-aged white guy, portrayed as the incompetent, uncool, bumbling fool. The left-wing media, as in CNN, MSNBC, Democracy Now!, and YouTube's Young Turks, TYT, portray themselves as the loving people out to help the human race, but everything they do is about hating right-wing conservatives. Watch the hate on all the news networks. There's left-wing and right-wing. That's their bread and butter. I have never seen as much hate for any human being as I saw for Donald J. Trump. When he was running for election in 2016, I used to go for a walk in the morning and listen to several radio stations. I counted 94 days in a row when they hated on Trump. I used to go on and wait for how long before someone hated on Trump. I have never seen that much hate anywhere else in my lifetime. With Nixon, they let him leave. He didn't even do anything. Some of his boys broke into a Democratic Party office and a psychiatrist's office without his knowledge, and he took the fall. Is hate natural, or is it a disharmony in the soul? I don't trust any left-wing liberals who say they want to help people. They want the power to run the government like the right wing does. Right-wing conservatives are for business and industry. There is no hypocrisy there. Work hard for the economy and you'll get your reward. Don't be a wimp expecting free money. Within the media, it's job security to take the left-wing side, pretend to be one of the good folk, then constantly hate on conservatives. Everybody is always whining about some trivial garbage. Nobody is ever satisfied. It's part of the advertising in a capitalist, pop culture world. To be cool, you gotta have the latest stuff. We hate on business tycoons who work hard creating an easy life for you. The late-night talk shows aren't funny anymore. They're hating someone who doesn't match the cool political ideology. I want to laugh. I don't want to deal with the world's bullshit. Hate is fun for a while. It unites people to hate something or someone in common. It's energizing to have someone or something to hate, but it gets old because if you're a hater, sooner or later, someone is going to hate on you. It's like the dearly departed Rodney King said, why can't we all just get along? The only sane way to live is to focus on living a good life for yourself and stay away from the world's BS. Psychology and Evil 7. I think the human race is evil because of my experience with getting ripped off, lied to, abused and exploited all my life by people, some of whom masqueraded as my friends. I was taught about Sodom and Gomorrah in Catholic catechism class. I know about Paul's letter to the Ephesians. Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. God, in lieu of the Anunnaki, destroyed the human race in the flood because the human genome was genetically flawed by the Nephilim, the fallen angels who had sex with women in Genesis 4. It's in the Bible. The question is, did it really happen? In any case, the human genome is not good. Is your life centered around making money for material survival, comfort, and greed rather than enjoying the freedom to do what you want? Are you self-centered? Of course, everyone is, but it's not cool to admit what we really are. Do you have an ego that wants revenge if you feel disrespected? How trivial and petty are you? How easy is it for you to get angry? Do you get jealous of other people? Think of all the tribes that somebody created to keep us distracted if you buy into the stuff which is being discussed every day in the media. Male versus female. Liberal versus conservative. Rich versus poor. US vs. Russia. Illegal immigration versus open borders. MGTOW versus METOO. Married versus single. Alcohol and drugs versus sober. Anti-abortion versus the right to kill my baby. Enlightened versus brainwashed. Pretty versus ugly. Overweight versus normal weight. College educated versus less education. Professional versus blue-collar worker. Management versus worker. Toronto Maple Leafs vs. Boston Bruins. White versus black. Black vs. Latino. Old versus young. Gay versus straight. Old gay versus young gay. Catholic vs. Protestant. Jews vs. Arabs. Arabs vs. Persians. Armenian vs. Arab. Christian vs. Muslim. Jew vs. Muslim. Hindu vs. Muslim. Buddhist vs. Muslim. Rap versus real music. Meta versus male chauvinist pig. You never see this in psychology books, how evil, selfish, greedy, angry and jealous all of us are beneath the social facades. It's all sanitized BS for a naive college crowd. Psychology and Evil 8. People do bad things because it's a part of human nature. It's not mental illness. It's who you are. Evil thoughts are natural. Many people act on them. Many people want to get something for nothing or hurt someone. Anger is big in the book of Proverbs and as one of Dante's 7 deadly sins. It's not mental illness. It's human. Oppositional defiant disorder is a way of saying someone doesn't want to conform to society. These could be harmless free people or they could be criminals. If you did something bad, it's because you were a scumbag at that moment, not because of some mental illness you supposedly have. Everybody is a scumbag. Let's not shroud it in a big fiction called mental illness, but it creates jobs. Dante called pride the worst of the 7 deadly sins. Pride is another word for ego, vanity, or narcissism. Many people want to be stars, to be a big shot, to have lots of money and be admired. The social sciences fail because they give us a delusional, flowery view of life. The science of psychology is an oxymoron. There is no science to human beings. We have Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Some people are trying to create a matrix of controlling the human race mostly through the mass media but with drugs too. If they can get everyone on happy mental health drugs, that would be a victory for them, the controllers at the top. All those people who work for the United Nations got their nice houses and their nice things while half of the world lives in poverty. It's human nature, do as I say because I'm superior to you, but don't do as I do because I'm a greedy pig at heart. I worked for several nonprofits and departments of education as a young man. I quickly realized that there were a few good people in the bunch, but most were scammers there for the easy job, to steal what they could and pick up chicks or guys. I saw so many phonies that I lost my idealism by the time I was 30 years old. There are plenty of supposed pillars of society doing immoral acts after preaching against them, so the lesson is that we're all trying to take care of ourselves. Most of us cross moral lines for own well-being. Any human can go angry and violent on a turn of a dime. Jails are full of these people. People in senior homes beat each other up. Buddhists kill Muslims because they're a threat to their survival. They say about 1 to 3% of all people have the antisocial personality disorder or psychopathy/sociopathy. I say we're all like that beneath the sociable exteriors. Many of us are wage slaves, doing what we must to earn money. Many of us fall into the materialism status trap, always wanting more stuff and bigger houses to fill our egos up. I've had people try to cheat me right to my face. When I caught one guy, he tried to laugh it off like it was a joke, no big deal. He was trying to act like ha, no big deal. This is the human gene pool. The psychology field minimizes the trivial, selfish, vain, evil hearts that live inside of everyone. If you don't believe me, there are plenty of true crime stories on YouTube. And that thing about the Dalai Lama being a good old boy who wants happiness and peace. That cult called Activism run by Keith Raniere had him speak there for a fee. They have now been outed as a pyramid scheme sex ring with underage women. He's just another guy trying to make money with his gimmick. He's got his hedonistic side like everybody. At the end of the 1996 movie The Island of Dr. Moreau, he says humans are already as unstable as anything Moreau created. Chapter 2. Does the human race have an evil nature? Losing our moral standards as a society. Christianity gave my generation and the generations before it a moral compass. People had traditional values. There are absolutes in life like the 10 Commandments. I went to school for psychology. They taught me the idea of relative morality. They called it values clarification. The idea was to not judge evil people. Accept them, try to understand them. According to them, every individual gets to pick their own morals. There are no moral absolutes. Understand evil acts from the point of view of the people doing them. It was then that I realized that psychology was trying to erode the Christian principles I was raised on. If we don't have absolute morals, we have nothing. Evil is evil. If you try to water it down, it gets muddled until it becomes what George Orwell said. Good becomes evil. Evil becomes good. We have abortion, the killing of unborn babies, as a human right. Look at our sexual morals. 50 years ago, homosexuality was considered perverted in every culture. Now it's mainstream. We now have people advocating for consenting sexual relations between children and adults. There are groups like NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association, gently advocating for man-boy affection that they want to be sexual because they are child fetishists, aka child molesters. Some people that work for children's entertainment companies put their message out subtly in their TV shows and movies. On the ABC Good Morning America show, they have or had a host named Michael Strahan who was a former NFL football player, so he's perceived as a man's man. There's a clip from the show that I found at YouTube at. The 11-year-old trailblazing drag kid Desmond is amazing. Good Morning America. This was from 2018. This is an 11-year-old boy that claims he wants to be a transvestite. In my day, we were playing hockey at that age. I remember a little bit of puppy love going on around grade 6 and 7, but we were a bunch of innocent kids playing in the schoolyard, allowed to grow up naturally. This is on mainstream TV. The message is that it's okay. It's not okay to sexualize children. When people get so bored with life that they start changing genders, it's a sign that something is wrong in society. Evil people pushing moral limits always say it's beautiful that someone is expressing themselves freely. The problem is that one person's idea of beauty is another person's idea of perversion. Some things are better left in private in the closet. Society is taken down an immoral path one step at a time. This is how it works. There are evil people doing this on a conscious level. Some people think a supernatural Satan runs the world. The Ten Commandments. Here are the Ten Commandments, Exodus 20:1-17. Thou shalt have no other gods beside me. 2. Thou shalt not make to thyself an idol, nor likeness of anything, whatever things are in the heaven above, and whatever are in the earth beneath, and whatever are in the waters under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down to them, nor serve them, for I am the Lord thy God, a jealous God, recompensing the sins of the fathers upon the children, to the third and fourth generation to them that hate me, and bestowing mercy on them that love me to thousands of them, and on them that keep my commandments. 3. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord thy God will not acquit him that takes his name in vain. 4. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days thou shalt labor, and shalt perform all thy work. But on the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God, on it thou shalt do no work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy servant, nor thy maidservant, thine ox nor thine ass, nor any cattle of thine, nor the stranger that sojourns with thee. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, and the sea and all things in them, and rested on the seventh day, therefore the Lord blessed the seventh day, and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest live long on the good land, which the Lord thy God gives to thee. 6. Thou shalt not commit adultery. 7. Thou shalt not steal. 8. Thou shalt not kill. 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, nor his field, nor his servant, nor his maid, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor any of his cattle, nor whatever belongs to thy neighbor. The 7 deadly sins and 7 capital virtues. Dante Alighieri's 7 deadly sins from the Inferno are: lust, lust for attention and sex; gluttony, lust for self-indulgence; sloth, lust for avoidance, laziness; envy, lust for possessions and personal gain; wrath, lust for vengeance; greed, lust for money and power; pride, lust for greatness and supremacy; lust, fornication, perversion; gluttony, waste, overindulgence; greed, treachery, covetousness; sloth, apathy, indifference; wrath, anger, hatred; envy, jealousy, malice; pride, vanity, narcissism. The 7 capital virtues originate from a poem written by a Christian poet, Aurelius Prudentius Clemens, in the 4th century called Psychomachia, meaning battle of souls, about 7 virtues defeating 7 vices. The 7 capital virtues, also called the 7 contrary virtues or the 7 heavenly virtues, are: chastity, purity, abstinence; temperance, humanity, equanimity; charity, benevolence, generosity, sacrifice; diligence, persistence, effortfulness, ethics; patience, forgiveness, mercy; kindness, satisfaction, compassion; humility, bravery, modesty, reverence. Humility is the virtue that counters pride. Liberality, or generosity, is the virtue that is counter to greed, the sin of immoderate desire for earthly things. Chastity is the counter virtue to the sin of lust. Meekness, or patience, is the virtue that counters the sin of unjust anger, also called wrath or rage. Temperance, the virtue of temperance or abstinence, counters the sin of gluttony. Kindness, or brotherly love or love for one's neighbor, is the virtue which counters the sin of envy. Diligence, or persistence, is the virtue which acts as a counter to the sin of sloth. Lawrence Kohlberg and his theory of moral development. Lawrence Kohlberg created a theory of moral development with a bunch of stages that don't work because all of us can get angry quickly and we're all natural sinners. Lawrence Kohlberg implied that intellectually superior, high-quality people develop morality to the point where they think and act like Jesus Christ. He didn't acknowledge that all human beings live in the same gutter. People can be morally good all their lives, then all of a sudden beat their wives, kill their neighbor, or do something evil. Every human being is the same distance from negative natural emotions like anger, jealousy, hate, pride, etc. My anger comes unnaturally when someone acts like a dipstick to me. Kohlberg's sixth or highest stage is called universal ethical principles, where the person goes beyond the fifth stage of the social contract to be a saint in thought and deed. He was talking about himself as a saintly ascended master type of person above doing anything evil because of an internal moral compass that predisposes him to be good in all situations. This is either a straight lie or a delusional lie, because we're all gluttons somewhere in private. Everybody has got a stash of some vice somewhere. It could be the Pope, the Dalai Lama, everybody. We're all human beings with the same nature. Most people with money are addicted to some selfish excess, at the very least comfort. I started out as a liberal idealist, realized the human race is mostly about a bunch of selfish people masquerading as good people, so I smile politely at everyone and keep relations at superficial niceness because I don't want conflicts with people. I know everybody is full of their own delusions. Kohlberg's moral theory is another narcissistic delusion in the guise of psychological theory about how good the human race is. The author, Lawrence Kohlberg, is doing a shout out to himself by coming up with this theory stating how good and wholesome the human race is, implying that he's one of the stellar ones at the top of his 6 stages of morality. There are no moral levels. We're all human. We can all go evil anytime. Selfishness is a natural self-preservation trait. Where self-preservation turns to greed is a muddled area. Capitalism has finessed the art of greed and envy by showing us junk in the media all the time, saying it's all good. They're always showing us ads telling us to buy things we don't need. The Academy Awards show attracts millions of viewers looking to see what our manufactured celebrities are doing. You can see the cool people in Los Angeles on TV, but there are tons of homeless people camping out on the Santa Monica City Hall lawn and near the beach north of the boardwalk just a few miles away. They never show you that on TV. Type Los Angeles homeless into YouTube. I was brought up learning the Bible through catechism classes in Catholic school. They taught me that there is not one just human being, not one in Romans 3:9-20. Jesus said, "You who have not sinned cast the first stone," in John 8:7. They taught us about the evils of man from Adam and Eve through to Cain, Sodom and Gomorrah, Noah's flood and the Tower of Babel. Kohlberg comes along 2,000 years later and puts out a psychological theory of morality that seems to negate that fact that everyone has evil inside of them. People in the field of psychology seem to say that intelligent people, implying themselves the people studying this stuff, are not evil. They imply that intelligent people, meaning themselves as system academics and professionals, reach a state of goodness and purity where they are the beacons of society, when in truth, the world is ruled by an evil empire of intelligent politician, banker, business, military psychopaths. We seem to make the mistake that intelligent people are good, that they don't use their intelligence for evil. Virtually everything about the goodness of man is propaganda. There are no saints anywhere. The proof is in the material excess, poverty, homelessness and unemployment everywhere. We start off naive, idealistic and good as we're taught in grade school and church, but as we wise up to reality through experience, we realize everyone is a potential scumbag. The law of survival is that we had better get what we can to take care of ourselves, because nobody gives a crap about us and we don't want to end up destitute like those homeless bums out there. So it's the opposite of what Kohlberg says. He says wisdom brings benevolence. I say wisdom brings reality, which is to get money, hoard it and watch your back. CNBC's TV show American Greed. Watch CNBC's American Greed somewhere online to see all the con artists everywhere in business, including selling self-help success info. There were 14 seasons last time I checked. Misanthropy/hate everybody. I hate mankind, for I think myself one of the best of them, and I know how bad I am. Joseph Barati. Misanthropy is a hate of everybody. Misogyny is a hate of women. Some people hate everybody. Some people hate women, men, gays, Jews, blacks, gypsies, or other groups of people. The thing about hate is that most people are politically correct enough to not let their biases and hates out around other people, but a lot of people have no great love for their fellow man. Many of us have been used, abused, exploited, and betrayed by our fellow human beings. Is it any wonder there's a stereotype about the cranky old man or bitchy old woman? People just get fed up and decide to minimize contact with other people because they don't need the social contact anymore. It's a pain in the butt to them to socialize, and besides, they don't trust anyone anymore anyway. What could you possibly expect if you watch the news every night, then all them crime shows? What gets me is all those fake shows called entertainment news shows. They're really shows to give regular people some satisfaction out of seeing our so-called celebrities screw up. They love exploiting tragedy. What about all the poor people? I'm sure they have no love for arrogant rich people. Psychology and evil websites. Psychology of evil, highbrow. Go highbrow.com/portfolio/psychology-of-evil. The Psychology of Evil, Philosophy Talk. philosophytalk.org/shows/psychology-evil. 25 examples of everyday evil, Town Hall. townhall.com. Dark Personality Theory. Ideapod.com. Psychology of Evil, Energetic Synthesis. energeticscienthesis.com/3743 Psychology of Evil. Philip Zimbardo, The Psychology of Evil. TED Talk. TED.com/talk/Philip_Zimbardo_the_psychology_of_evil.